Rafael Devers sat alone in the far corner of the locker room, elbows on knees, eyes locked on the floor, as if it could explain the weight in his chest. The roar from Fenway above still echoed through the concrete, but to him, it was background noise, not fatigue, not pain. But one sentence, uttered hours ago by Alex Cora, looping in his head. Loyalty only counts when it's hard. What did that mean? Why now? He had just driven in the winning run, walked off a hero, and yet he sat here, feeling like a man exiled from his own kingdom. Years of bleeding for this team, sacrificing time, pushing through injury, absorbing the rumors like rain. He never complained. He stayed when others cashed out. And still, something in Cora's tone today. It stung. Not angry, just distant, like a man saying goodbye without saying it. His locker was too clean, too organized. Bat, glove, cleats, no clutter, no soul. His phone buzzed. Agent. Call me. It's urgent. He didn't move. He already knew. It wasn't a question of if anymore, but when. They were shopping him. He had seen this happen to others, cold nods from the manager, less playing time, the GM avoiding eye contact. Now it was him. Funny how quickly the tides turn. One moment you're the face of the franchise, the next you're a name on a spreadsheet. They'd say it was just business, but for Rafael, this had never been business. It was personal. Deeply. He stood up slowly, like his bones understood something before his brain did. He walked down the hall, past the jerseys of men who came before him, legends reduced to frames on a wall. He reached the mirror. Not check his hair, but to stare himself down. What do you do when your dream starts whispering, you don't belong anymore? He remembered the boy in the Dominican Republic, wide-eyed, listening to Red Sox games on an old radio. He remembered the call-up, the crowd, the first hit, the first roar. That kid would have cried to see where he is now. And maybe he would again, though not in sadness, in mourning, for a belief slowly dying. He wanted answers, from Cora, from the GM, from someone. But he already knew there would be none. Just numbers, contracts, excuses. He punched the locker, not in rage, but in quiet grief. The kind that builds over seasons, the kind that doesn't make noise, but leaves bruises anyway. And in that silence, he heard everything. The cheers that felt like echoes, the headlines that called him overrated, the analysts who questioned his commitment. None of them had seen the rehab, the ice baths, the hours of doubt behind closed doors. He looked around the locker room one last time. The hum of lights, the faint smell of leather and dust. He reached up, touched his nameplate, tracing the letters like scripture. Maybe he still belonged. Maybe not. But whatever came next, he'd face it with eyes open, and this time on his terms. He sat longer than needed, listening to silence between lockers. Once, this place had been alive, a second skin, a cathedral of sweat and brotherhood. Now every creak reminded him that even sacred places can go cold. He remembered laughing here, being doused in Gatorade after walk-offs, hugging teammates after comebacks. Now he wasn't sure if those memories comforted or mocked him. Outside, the media waited. Cameras, microphones, questions he wasn't ready to answer. Not because he didn't know what to say, because no answer could save what was slipping. He thought of calling his family, but how do you explain betrayal when it's quiet? When it comes with glances, omissions, delayed handshakes? A storm rose in his chest, not loud, but steady. He wasn't just grieving what might happen, he was grieving what already had. And he knew the next chapter wouldn't be written for him. He'd have to carve it out, pitch by pitch, city by city. Maybe elsewhere. Maybe alone. But never small again. The clubhouse lights still hummed to life as he stepped inside, gym bags slung over his shoulder like armor. Today was media day. Cameras, questions, forced smiles. He'd been through dozens of these, but none like this. Word had leaked. Not officially, but enough whispers had turned to headlines. Devers on the trading block. Sources say Red Sox exploring options. He scrolled through social media, his name trending. Not for a home run, not for a walk-off, but for something he hadn't even chosen. They were fan reactions, disbelief, support, anger. A video clip looped endlessly. Cora, post-game, avoiding a direct answer. No comment at this time. He stood at his locker, gripping the edges. He could hear footsteps. Then a voice, calm, familiar. "Got a minute?" Cora asked. Rafael turned. "You already took most of them." Cora's face didn't move. That bothered him more than yelling would have. "You know how this works, Raf," he said. "It's not personal." "But it's mine," Rafael replied. "This jersey, this city, I gave everything. And I'm the one answering rumors while everyone else stays silent?" Cora sighed. "Sometimes silence is what keeps things from falling apart." Rafael shook his head. "Or it's what proves they already have." That afternoon, he stood at the podium. Cameras flashed, microphones crowded, reporters fired questions like fastballs. "Are you aware of trade talks? What's your relationship with the front office? Do you want to stay in Boston?" He could have played it safe, but instead, he stared straight ahead. "Loyalty for me was never conditional. Maybe I was wrong to think it went both ways." Pens scratched faster, the room shifted. "I've worn this jersey with pride, but pride doesn't protect you from the machine. If I go, it won't be because I stopped believing. It'll be because someone else did." No script, no filter, just truth. Later, some teammates nodded. Some avoided him. He didn't blame them. Speaking out wasn't always rewarded. That evening, he sat alone in the dugout as the sun dipped low, painting shadows across the seats. He imagined them filled, the cheers, the boos, the weight of it all. And for the first time, he realized he could survive the trade, but not becoming someone else just to stay. He stayed late that day. When most players left, Rafael remained in the dugout, elbows on knees, watching as the grounds crew dragged the tarp across the field. He thought of the games he'd saved on this dirt, the fans who once screamed his name. Was it all just a role until someone newer came? A shadow appeared on the steps. Cora. No words, just a look. Rafael searched for something, regret, apology. He got none. "You could have told me," No music, just lights and thoughts. He passed bars where fans wore his jersey, streets where kids hung his posters, and he wondered, what happens when the symbol no longer belongs to the man? At a red light, he stared at his reflection. Not the athlete, just the man. Was that enough? "They can take the number," he whispered, "but they don't own the story." He gripped the wheel. The light turned green, and so did something inside him. Rafael Devers, Part 3. 467 characters, 11 labs at Wigunduzmitin. The trade didn't happen overnight. That would have been easier. Instead, Rafael lived inside limbo, half a teammate, half a headline. Every game felt like it could be his last in a Red Sox uniform. Some fans cheered louder, trying to hold on to him with their voices. Others watched with quiet detachment, already preparing for goodbye. He still played hard, still bled for every inning. But something had shifted. He wasn't playing to prove he belonged anymore. He was playing because he did. Whether Boston remembered that or not was no longer his burden. One afternoon, after batting practice, the GM called him in. Cora was already seated, papers on the desk, a folder with his name. "We've had calls," the GM said. "Serious ones." Rafael nodded. "And?" "We believe in you," Cora added quickly. "But the organization is at a crossroads." "So am I," Rafael replied. The GM slid the folder forward. Trade options, contract restructuring, paths forward, and exits. "You've earned the right to choose," the GM said. Rafael stared at the folder. Not because he was unsure, but because, for the first time, the power sat in front of him, not above him. He stood, closed the folder, and said, "Then here's my decision. I stay. Not because I owe you, but because I choose me." Cora looked up. For the first time in months, there was no calculation, just respect. That night, Rafael played like a man reborn. 2 hits, a stolen base, a diving stop at third. By the 7th inning, the chants were back. "Stay with us, Rafael," and something inside him finally answered. After the game, he walked the warning track alone. No cameras, just shadows, just silence. He paused near the bullpen gate, looked back at the diamond. "This is mine," he whispered, "and I'm not done." The press asked questions. He answered few. His agent received new offers. He declined them. Not because he feared change, but because this place hadn't taken everything yet. There was still something left to reclaim. Weeks passed. The trade deadline came and went. Rafael was still there. So was the silence. But now, it was his. He arrived early again, not to prove anything, but because he wanted to. He mentored rookies, laughed louder, played freer. The weight wasn't gone, but he had learned to carry it differently. One night, he sat alone in the dugout. Empty seats, still field, navy sky, and peace. He didn't wonder what they thought of him. He knew what he thought of himself, and that was enough. He didn't tell many people what happened in that office. Some thought he took a pay cut. Others believed he demanded guarantees. But it was simpler. He chose dignity. He was now a standard. Journalists called him a rebel, a challenge to the front office. But that wasn't his truth. His truth was quieter. It lived in choices, not headlines. One young reporter asked him, "Why stay when you could have left?" He smiled. "Because walking away is easy," he said. "And I'm done doing easy." He began writing again. Journal fragments, pieces he kept private, not for fame, but to remember what it felt like to choose. He knew this wouldn't last forever, but while it did, it would be his, on his terms, and maybe that's what staying really means.